Instructional technology is exciting, and it offers many possibilities for presenting your content. In this program, I will pull together research on effective instruction and principles of instructional design, and will suggest ways to use them in lesson design as you integrate technology with your subject area. You already know some things that will help you apply this information, such as terminal objectives and task analysis. An effective lesson is like a good speech. That is, you tell them what you're going to tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. A difference is that in a lesson, you monitor student practice to check how they are learning what you told them. There are 5 main parts of a lesson design: introduction, instruction, practice, closure, and pre-test, post-test. The lesson design and its components are drawn from 3 sources: Madeline Hunter's lesson plan format, Gagne's events of instruction, and research on effective instruction. It applies to lessons for teacher presentation, to print, video, or computer presentations. Introduction or anticipatory set is the first main part. This is where you tell them what you're going to tell them. Its purpose is to prepare students for learning. How is an introduction or anticipatory set designed? Well, effective instruction research tells us 2 things to include. Students learn more when lessons are introduced and learning objectives are specified so they know what they are expected to learn. Effective computer-based programs include an introduction that describes the lesson objective and explains the purpose of the lesson. So, objectives and purpose are both important entries in a lesson design. Second, when you start with a review, students get on task more quickly and remain on task for a longer period of time. Effective computer-based instruction programs begin with a review of relevant information and skills. Instruction is the second main part. This is where you tell them. The purpose of instruction is to provide information and examples by which students learn the content. Effective instruction research tells us some things to include. For instance, students in faster-paced classrooms spend more time on task, participate more, and give more correct responses. Fast-paced instruction works for all levels and all abilities of students. Effective computer-based instruction programs move quickly and avoid unnecessary interruptions. They provide self-paced instruction and minimize pauses and interruptions. Students also learn more when the lesson flows smoothly and when teacher statements are precise. Effective computer-based instruction programs use clear and precise language that moves logically from one segment to the next and that avoids unnecessary interruptions and distractions. Vocabulary and expressions must be familiar so the students can relate this new content to their own experience. Effective computer-based instruction programs present content at a level consistent with the ability of the students. The more examples they have, the better they learn, especially when studying difficult concepts and principles. Effective computer-based instruction lessons use good examples and demonstrations, particularly when lesson content is difficult. Questioning is an important monitoring skill, and effective teachers use questions regularly to assess student understanding. Effective computer-based programs pose questions one at a time. They demand that students respond to each question asked before proceeding. Effective computer-based programs provide prompt, sincere, and specific feedback on a regular basis. Students learn more when their correct responses are affirmed quickly and instruction moves forward. Again, effective computer-based instruction programs confirm correct responses and move on. Graphics and gimmicks are sometimes used to enhance student interest and motivation, but research shows that they may not enhance achievement if used too often. Effective computer-based instruction programs provide cues and probes when students answer questions incorrectly, as well as reasonable periods of time in which students can respond. They help students arrive at correct answers rather than simply telling them they're wrong. Practice with feedback is the third main step. This is where you monitor the students' progress to see how they are learning what you told them. There are two types of practice: guided practice and independent practice. Research findings suggest how to design effective practice. For example, effective teachers circulate and monitor student performance during classroom assignments to check all students' progress. Effective computer-based instruction programs routinely check for learner understanding by including quizzes or questions. In most successful classes, all students experience high success rates. Effective computer-based instruction lessons are designed to ensure moderate to high success rates. Computers let students learn at different rates. Effective teachers help students remember assignments by writing them out or by asking questions to find out whether or not their instructions have been understood. Effective computer-based instruction programs provide assignments one at a time and ask questions of the user to determine whether or not the assignments are understood. Closure is the fourth main part. This is where you tell them what you told them. You also want them to summarize for you what they learned. The more regularly teachers review and summarize, the higher the students achieve. Effective computer-based instruction lessons include a summary of key points at the end of the lesson. Even better, they demand student input to make sure the key points have been understood. Effective computer-based programs make clear and smooth transitions from one part of a lesson to another. They provide cues for transitions and indicate clearly how the next material follows logically from that which precedes it. Pre-test, post-test is the last main part. Its purpose is to assess whether students have met the objective. One last effective instruction research statement applies here, and that is, teachers who establish rules and procedures for appropriate student behavior often also have standards for academic performance. Effective computer-based instruction programs adapt to student capabilities and hold students accountable for the work they do. They require students to demonstrate mastery of materials presented. Ideally, they present content to fit the classroom schedule. These screens summarize the parts of lesson design and the effective instruction research findings that apply to each. Introduction or anticipatory set. First, begin instructions with an introduction. Second, begin lessons with a review. Instruction. Present instruction at a brisk pace. Present instruction fluently. Use understandable language and concepts. These three apply to information or input. Use relevant examples and demonstrations. This applies to example or model. Pose questions one at a time. Provide feedback to students. Affirm correct responses, and provide sustained feedback for incorrect responses. These apply to questions with feedback or check. Practice with feedback. Check student performance routinely, ensure high rates of success, and make assignments clear. Closure. Summarize the main points, make smooth transitions, and pre-test, post-test, maintain reasonable standards. When we list them this way, it sounds like a lot to remember. But if you visualize a lesson design and think about what logically goes into each part, it becomes easier. Remember that lesson design is a guideline for making effective lessons. It doesn't mean that all parts must be used for every lesson or that all lessons must be written out. Decisions about the best design for the content and the students are up to you. As you create technology-based activities and presentations, Use the effective instruction research findings to help students learn the greatest amount possible.
This microtech tape is one in a continuing series which will be available throughout the school year. Contact your Media Center librarian for a full program listing and schedule. There's a new kid in Jefferson County Public High Schools these days, a new tool for learning in every content area. That new tool is the New Kid Graduates Computer Lab, and it holds exceptional promise for all of us as we strive to prepare students for life in the 21st century. Many preparatory steps led to the introduction of the new kid into our high schools. Secondary mathematics teachers had already incorporated computers into their curriculum by the mid-70s. Some students graduated with backgrounds in computer science and the basic programming language. By 1980, however, many forward-thinking educators in the county and across the nation had begun to anticipate the strong impact technology could have upon the total curriculum, from kindergarten through post-secondary education. This period of growing excitement coincided with an era of economic frustration for many individuals and businesses in our community. Louisville, with its once strong manufacturing base, experienced frightening unemployment levels as a result of the loss of industrial jobs. In 1982, the Louisville Chamber of Commerce invited David Birch, a futurist from MIT, to assess the local situation and to help its members take a proactive stance in dealing with the city's future. Birch reinforced what the listeners had come to accept, that Louisville could no longer depend on manufacturing of tangible goods for its growth. The new thrust, he claimed, was in what he termed thoughtware. Most future occupations would rely upon skills in the management of information. He observed that companies in the United States were hiring British technologists because our schools had not adequately prepared skilled workers. Birch's remarks captured the attention of our community leaders and impressed them with the necessity for dramatic changes in education. Humana Corporation's David Jones spearheaded a pilot project in educational technology at Roosevelt Perry Elementary School in 1983. The resulting partnership between the company and the school board saw the implementation of a networked computer lab in which students strengthened language, computation, and problem-solving skills. The success of the experiment led to the formulation of an ambitious goal: to place computer labs in each of Jefferson County's public schools. Commitments from local businesses, individual schools, and the school board provided funding for the New Kid in School project, which was formally launched in January 1985. By August 1987, the initial stage of the New Kid project had been completed. 32-unit networked computer labs had been installed at all 87 elementary schools. 5 teachers from each school had participated in a 60-hour training program designed to assist them in integrating the use of computer technology into the existing curriculum. The teachers returned to their buildings to train other teachers and to use the computer lab at every grade level and in every subject area. The Apple IIe computers in the elementary school labs provided access to a variety of software for writing, for problem solving, and for practicing math and language concepts. While the New Kid project got underway at the elementary school level, pilot labs were installed at 3 middle schools and 1 high school. The teachers who participated in these experimental ventures quickly identified the best use of computers at this grade level, the improvement of writing skills. By March 1987, the Board of Education had accepted additional funding from the Kentucky Department of Education and had approved the promotion of New Kid to middle school. 32 networked IBM computers had been installed in each middle school lab, along with software for organizing, analyzing, and reporting information. Once again, teachers from each building participated in the training sessions. As experts in their respective subject areas, the teachers brought knowledge about mathematics, science, language arts, and social studies with them. Their training introduced them to the value of writing as a tool for learning in all content areas, and to computers as tools for writing. By January 1989, those teachers had developed dozens of effective computer-related writing activities for their students. During the spring of 1988, attention turned to the final segment of the New Kid project, implementation at the high school level. The Board of Education approved a budget for the New Kid graduates in excess of $2 million, which included funds for hardware and software purchases, room renovation and wiring, computer tables, supplies such as paper, discs, and printer ribbons, and teacher training. Plans were made to install the labs in 2 stages, January 1989 and August 1989. Representatives from each high school faculty, from parent and community groups, and from local businesses were invited to participate in a hardware and software evaluation process. 3 vendors made successful responses to the board's request for evaluation models, and the committee subjected each model lab to the same rigorous criteria. Teachers at each of the 3 sites actually used the computers with their students as well. The evaluation committee selected the Apple Macintosh Computer Lab and submitted their choice to the Board of Education for approval. Training for 12 volunteer teachers from each of the first 12 installation sites began in January 1989. Once again, the training focuses on using computers as tools for writing in all content areas. Participants are introduced to methods for incorporating technology into their overall instructional design. Each of the high school computer labs contains the same type of hardware and software. Hardware, by the way, refers to the computer workstations, printers, and other machines which make up the lab. These Macintosh Plus computers look a bit different from the typical computer. The CPU, or central processing unit, the brain of the computer, is enclosed within the same case which surrounds the screen. The brightness control is located below the front lip of the computer case. This slot is a disk drive, designed to be used with a 3.5-inch disk. The keyboard, very similar in many ways to a typewriter keyboard, plugs into the front of the case. A mouse, another way to communicate with the computer, is plugged into the back. Every computer in the computer lab is connected to a network, a series of cables which ultimately place each workstation in communication with another larger computer, the server. The server has 2 important functions. It houses almost all of the software available for use in the computer lab, and it provides a storage area for the work students do in the lab as well. Software refers to the programs or list of instructions which make computers useful tools. A computer without some type of software is useless for the average person, and as a result, software can often be quite expensive. Networking computers to a server cuts down on the cost of the software, since it makes it possible for all workstations to legally share programs. When you walk into your school's computer lab, you will also see 3 printers. Once again, the fact that the computer workstations are on a network provides a huge advantage. Students working at any computer in the room may send their work to any one of the printers. The computer lab also contains another useful technological feature, a projection device. Used with an overhead projector, this lightweight object can project the image from the computer screen onto an audiovisual screen. Teachers can use this device to demonstrate a procedure or to highlight student work. The computer network must be started up each morning and shut down each night. Only a few simple steps are required for each operation. First, we turn on each of the 3 printers. Then, we turn on the server. The server checks the information on its hard disk, its internal storage device, and then captures or makes contact with each of the 3 printers. After a few moments, this screen appears. The network is now ready, and the server can be accessed from any workstation. Each workstation is provided with a startup disk. This disk contains information which will allow the workstation to communicate with the server. Usually, the disk will be resting in the disk drive after the previous day's activity. To start up the workstation, we simply push the disk into the disk drive completely, and then press the switch on the back left side. The workstation reads the disk and follows the instruction to make contact with the server. The workstation is then ready, and the user can access the software he or she wishes to use. But what is the rationale behind using sophisticated hardware and software to augment the high school curriculum? As David Birch observed, the workforce of the next century will need different skills. All of us have heard the amazing estimates of the speed at which the information base in our world is growing. Students need to learn about managing information, finding it, determining its relevancy, organizing and analyzing it, and finally, using it to solve problems and invent solutions. The standard mode of instruction centered on lectures and textbooks is neither always effective nor always appropriate. Technology offers students the opportunity to actively participate in the management of information, and it can prepare them for the world in which they will live and work as adults. The computer education resource teacher assigned to your school can help you learn more about using the computer lab. This Microtech tape is one in a continuing series which will be available throughout the school year. Contact your Media Center librarian for a full program listing and schedule. The Macintosh Plus computers in each of the new KID labs represents revolutionary technology in personal computing. Many of your students will be coming to you with years of expertise at using technological tools. They will already be familiar with word processing, database management, and spreadsheets, and will probably find it very easy to transfer their knowledge of one type of computer system to using the Macintosh. You, of course, may be learning right along with them. A good place for everyone to start is with the Apple Tour Disk, which comes with each workstation. This interactive, self-paced program can help you and your students become familiar with Macintosh terminology, with typical screens, and with using a mouse. To use this disk, place it in the disk drive, metal end first, label side up. Inside the computer, the metal end slides open, so that the computer can read information from the vinyl circle within the disk when it is turned on. Turn on the computer by pressing the on-off switch on the back left-hand side of the computer. The computer will hum and this screen will appear. The user can simply follow the directions to move through the tour. One of the first tasks on the tour involves using the mouse, a skill which may take some time to acquire. The mouse offers another way to communicate with the Macintosh computer besides the keyboard. Let's look at the first few screens on the tour disk to give you an idea of how it works. Directions appear at the bottom of the screen. First, we will practice moving the mouse on the table. Notice that as we do, the pointer, a little arrow on the screen, moves around too. By moving the mouse, we can point at each of the numbers on the screen in order. Notice what happens if we lift the mouse up. The pointer remains stationary on the screen. Pointing is the first basic mouse operation. The second mouse operation to be mastered is clicking. For instance, we can click on the arrow to move to the next screen. Clicking involves pointing to an object on the screen, pressing the mouse button, and then releasing it. The third mouse skill involves dragging. It combines the skills of pointing and clicking with moving the mouse. To drag, first point to an object. Hold down the mouse button. Move the mouse until the object reaches its destination, then release the mouse button. The tour disc is an excellent way to introduce yourself to the Macintosh or Mac computer. After you work through the entire disc, you will have a better idea of how the Macintosh differs from the other computers you may have used and what it can do for you. As you know, each new kid graduates lab contains 32 networked computers. The network allows the computers to share resources, software, printers, and data storage. Remember that the network must be started up each day by turning on the printers and then turning on the server. When this screen appears on the server, the network is ready and individual workstations are ready to be used. Each individual user must sign on at a workstation to communicate with the server. A startup disk is used at each station to initiate communication between the workstation and the server. Remember, we push in the disk, label up, with the metal side in first. Reaching around the left back side of the Mac, we switch on the computer. A screen like this one appears. It asks for a username, a special code assigned to each student or teacher who uses the network. Pressing the Tab key moves the cursor, a flashing bar which indicates the space in which we can type, to the line which requests the username. Since the line is selected, that is, highlighted in black, we can type the username right over the letters which appear there. Clicking on OK at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen indicates that we are finished with this task and ready to move on to another. The Macintosh Finder screen then appears. We will use this screen to find the program or application we wish to work on. Across the top of the screen are pull-down menus. If we point to one of the menu names, click and hold down the mouse button, the menu appears. You will learn to select and use functions from these menus. On the right side of the screen, 3 icons appear. Icons are symbols. In this case, the top icon represents the startup disk, which we inserted into the computer. The next icon represents the server, indicating that we have made contact with it. At the bottom of the screen is the trash can icon. As its shape would indicate, we will use this icon to get rid of work we no longer need. At this point, we are ready to proceed with the connection to the server. Using the mouse to point to the server icon, we perform what is called a double click, 2 quick clicks in succession. The server icon opens. In other words, we can see what is available from the server. As you can see, the server contains 2 items, 2 folders. A Macintosh folder is a basic unit of organization, much like a folder in your filing cabinet. A folder contains related information, documents, or even other folders which share the same characteristics. We can open a folder to see what is inside of it. Double-clicking on the Applications folder opens it up and displays a window which shows all of the programs available for your use. Notice that a tiny icon appears next to each application name. Clicking on the icon will load a copy of that application into our workstation. Let's say that we are ready to create a word processing document. Double-clicking on Microsoft Works will load that application into our workstation. Closing a folder simply involves clicking on the square in the upper left corner. When the applications window is closed, The window beneath it on the screen is displayed. Now let's look at the data folder. Double-clicking on it reveals that it contains a number of other folders. And double-clicking on one of those folders will reveal its contents as well. Once again, we can move backwards through the folder hierarchy by clicking on the squares in the upper left corners. Going back to the Applications folder again, let's open the Microsoft Works program and proceed with that word processing document. Several icons appear, one for each of the components of Microsoft Works. Double-clicking on the word processing icon brings up a virtually blank screen. We can begin to type out our document via the keyboard using the backspace key to eliminate any mistakes. We can use the mouse to select words or groups of words, and then use the pull-down menus to change the appearance of the words in some way. We can even move whole paragraphs by selecting them and then using the cut and paste functions to place them in different positions. We can also use the drawing tools from the Edit menu to include simple graphics, like this box, around the title of our document. Using the File menu will allow us to save the document, that is, place it into one of the data folders we spoke of earlier. We can also use the File menu to send the document to one of the printers. Quitting the word processing portion of Microsoft Works takes us back to this screen. Other components of the program are available at this point. We may wish to use the database portion to collect and organize information about a content-related topic, or the spreadsheet portion to perform calculations and create graphs. If we are finished with Microsoft Works, we can simply quit, close each window in turn, and return to the Finder screen. Ending our work session simply involves pulling down the Special menu and dragging until we have selected Shutdown. The disk pops out, the workstation displays this message, and we have ended our communication with the server. This quick look at the way a Macintosh operates has probably left you with many questions. Each Macintosh computer does come with a set of manuals which explains each of the points we've covered in greater depth. Perhaps the best way to learn about a Macintosh, however, is to get your hands on one, to gain confidence about using a mouse, for instance, or to better understand navigating through the hierarchy of folders. Start with an Apple Tour Disk and enter a world where technological tools can help you achieve your instructional goals. The computer education resource teacher assigned to your school can help you learn more about using the computer lab. This Microtech tape is one in a continuing series which will be available throughout the school year. Contact your Media Center librarian for a full program listing and schedule. Your school's networked computer lab is the centerpiece of the New Kid Graduates project. It presents us with the opportunity to explore common ground, the writing and critical thinking skills which cross content area domains. The students who will use this lab will be researching, organizing, and reporting about information in a variety of content areas. They will be learning to use technological tools like word processing, database management, and spreadsheets to reach many other goals. Additional components of the New Kid Graduates project will allow us to introduce our students to some already recognized technologies and to anticipate others which will have increased impact in the future. Those technologies include desktop publishing, HyperCard, interactive video disc, and CD-ROM technology. Educators have long recognized that a student will write more and write better when he knows the purpose for writing, the audience for whom he is writing, and when he can anticipate that his writing will be published in some fashion. Publication can be as simple as displaying one's work on a bulletin board, or as sophisticated as submitting a piece to a literary magazine. In any case, students genuinely enjoy seeing their work in print. The desktop publishing system in each New Kid Graduates lab turns out professional-looking documents with graphics in a variety of typefaces and fonts in high-quality contrast print. This system includes a computer loaded with a software program called PageMaker and a high-speed laser printer. Students can compose their stories or articles at individual workstations and then use the desktop publishing system to perform the task of layout and paste-up jobs, which usually required rubber cement, X-Acto knives, and a great deal of patience. The desktop publishing system can perform their task much more easily. Stories can be placed into columns. Graphic art can be resized and pasted anywhere. Students can view the completed page in its actual size to get an idea of how it will look when it is printed. They can also zoom in to look at the portions of the page at 2 times its normal size in order to check for details. When the document is ready, it can be sent to the laser printer, where pages will be printed out horizontally as well as vertically. The completed documents are cleanly and attractively printed and are camera ready for future reproduction. The desktop publishing system can offer teachers a whole new host of ways to provide forums for their students' writing, thereby encouraging the students to write more. Desktop publishing has been wholeheartedly embraced by the business community. More and more major periodicals and journals are using this technology to turn out their issues. Many businesses are also beginning to incorporate the use of video disc technology. They use this often in their training programs. A video disc is a circular piece of plastic similar in size to a long-playing record. One side of a video disc can contain 54,000 still frames or photographs. A disc can also contain motion sequences or a combination of both still and motion frames. With this incredible resource and a Laserdisc player, teachers can have instant access to a variety of video images. This disc, for instance, contains all the paintings which hang in the National Gallery of Art. In order to locate a specific painting, the user simply uses the remote control to indicate the frame number listed on the accompanying index. The Laserdisc player searches for the frame number and displays the painting almost instantly. Many other Laserdiscs are commercially available on a variety of topics, like this one, which contains scientific information, for instance. The wealth of images which can be placed on a Laserdisc, combined with the speed at which they can be located, makes the Laserdisc a very promising tool for education. Laserdisc technology becomes even more promising when combined with HyperCard. HyperCard is an exciting new tool which is a special feature of the Macintosh computer. HyperCard is an information organizer, one which allows the user to relate one piece of information to another in a meaningful way. HyperCard is based on the idea of stacks of index cards. Each card contains information which is pertinent to the topic of the stack. The user of a completed stack can move through the cards in the order of his interest, clicking on special areas of the card called buttons in order to go forward, backward, or branch to another card. This example demonstrates a HyperCard stack created to accompany the National Gallery of Art Laserdisc. The stack makes the vast amount of information on the disk even more accessible to the user. For instance, the user can find all of the paintings in a certain style or by a particular artist. The cards even contain a button which, when clicked, will start and stop a video sequence about a specific painting. Because HyperCard is such an accessible tool, both students and teachers will find it useful for a variety of purposes. As a lecture or presentation medium, for exhibiting knowledge about a topic, or to create individualized tutorials. When attached to a computer, a Laserdisc player can provide a truly interactive medium in which a student can make a choice from a screen, get a response from the computer, and look at vivid images to expand or reinforce the learning. One of the other components of the new Kid Graduates is the CD-ROM technology. CD-ROM stands for Compact Disc Read-Only Memory. Information stored on the disk can only be read, not altered in any way. The CD-ROM disc itself looks very much like a music CD. Once again, this small disk is capable of storing a tremendous amount of information. Its capacity is roughly equivalent to 1,500 floppy disks or 100 standard print volumes. This disk, for instance, contains an entire encyclopedia. Once again, however, the real benefits of this technology are related to the access one has to the information. Not only can the CD-ROM player find requested information almost instantaneously, it can assist the user in performing a variety of complicated searches. In this case, all of the references about Kentucky, which contain information about Daniel Boone. All of the pertinent articles are listed on the computer screen. The user can select one and read the text. If the information is useful, it can be printed out or pasted directly into a word processing document. Other CD-ROM products contain a variety of reference works such as Roget's Thesaurus, the World Almanac, and Bartlett's famous quotations. With quick access to these materials, student writing can improve in depth and quality. Each of these sophisticated research and writing tools holds tremendous promise for assisting our students in meeting their educational goals. That, of course, is the purpose behind the infusion of technology into our schools, the desire to both strengthen our students' skills and to prepare them for an increasingly technical workplace. In that workplace, computers will be used as tools for getting the job done. The training and retraining our students will engage in throughout their adult lives will involve the application of computer technology to a variety of jobs and responsibilities. We would not be serving our students' best interest, therefore, if we only taught them about computers or if we treated technology as an add-on to an already demanding curriculum. As we all grow in computer competency, we must continue to find new ways to use technology to better reach our existing curriculum's goals. Science teachers will use databases to help their students to find relationships between phenomena, to compare and contrast information, and to make projections. Social studies teachers will use writing and word processing as a window to their students' understanding of the impact of historical events on their culture. Math teachers will invest time in helping their students represent quantifiable information in graphic form. And language arts teachers will support the writing that students produce in pursuing many subject area goals. The new Kid Graduates Lab in our school is everybody's territory. Common ground where all of us can work together to prepare our students for the challenges of tomorrow. The computer education resource teacher assigned to your school can help you learn more about using the computer lab. This Microtech tape is one in a continuing series which will be available throughout the school year. Contact your Media Center librarian for a full program listing and schedule.